Good evening, everyone. So nice to see everyone. I'm excited about yoga. All right, so noble community, we gather here together with one another, with all humanity and with all life on earth. We gather here together on the unceded lands of the Pidi, Bohicket, and Kiowa people, and in the place where nearly half of all enslaved Africans first stepped onto American soil. We honor our land ancestors with our mindful awareness. We gather here to deepen our solidity and renew our freshness through mindful sitting, or in this case, yoga, walking, music, and breathing, and speaking and listening. We affirm the capacity within ourselves and all persons of every race, gender, orientation, ability, and tradition to realize peace in ourselves and peace in the world. What a beautiful way to start our Sangha. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Heather for the music and, as usual, for being our tech guru. And to Jessica, who I'm going to turn this over to because Jessica is going to lead us instead of our traditional sit, yay, and walk. Jessica is going to lead us in yoga. And I so enjoyed the last time. I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, last time I looked up at the Zoom call and I saw everyone's feet, and it was just about the cutest thing in the world. I mean, what a smile it brought to my face. So anyway, I'm about to turn this over to Jessica without further ado.
Sentences you said, and I really hope it's not my tech. So I'm going to go ahead. I think I got
Can't hear you.
clear also.
Hey, Jessica.
It's very faint.
Oh no. So
That's better.
talk about tech problems. I just came to log on to my computer and my camera's not working. So, but it thinks it's working. So it's just a black screen. So I'm going to have to pivot here, and all the camera angles that I thought I had worked out are not worked out because I've switched over to my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and chime us in, but forgive some of the camera work tonight. We're going to go ahead and meet starting on our backs with our legs up the wall. And if you are, oh, I'm afraid if I put you down, you're not going to hear me. If you are not joining us tonight on the floor for any reason, you can go ahead and do our traditional sit right now. We will be moving after the first 10 minutes up onto chairs. So it's possible that those of us who don't want to work down on the floor may join us soon. So go ahead, and to get in position, we're going to put our legs up the wall with our backs on the floor. And we've got about 2 fist widths from the wall to our butt. And we're going to use our bolster pillow underneath our head and neck. Our arms are going to go into that. They're going to slide along the floor, the backs of our hands, into that Texas T. And they're going to meet behind our heads underneath the bolster pillow in a bind, interlacing our fingers. If for whatever reason it's too much to have our shoulders kind of opened up in this way, we can go ahead and keep the bind, but put it between our head and the pillow. Or we can loosen up the grip on our bind and kind of work those hands out. And again, we're going into more of like a cactus arm shape. But the important thing is to find your spot and commit like you would in a sit. And work on letting go. You're going to find layers and layers of tension. And the more you let go, the more you find. And it gets subtler and subtler. And I'm actually going to use this opportunity to pick up our book, Unshakeable, and read a little bit from one of the exercises that Joanne's laid out for us about attuning to our window of tolerance. Because really, this practice tonight is all about that. So this is exercise 5.5, if anybody wants to look it up later. And I'm jumping around a little bit, but she says, first, notice the places your body is being supported by the floor or chair or cushion. And feel the weight of gravity at work. Take all of the time you need to experience this weight and ask yourself whether this awareness of weight seems pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Just ask the question and see if an opinion arises. The answer is not as important as the question to just help get yourself into a mindset of curiosity. As you become more attuned to whether or not something feels pleasant, you will be able to return to these experiences when doing so is helpful. We are hardwired to continuously scan for the unpleasant. So learning to hold focused attention on the pleasant or neutral can take some concentration. For that reason, it helps to practice this often and when you're relaxed, building your skill in advance so it'll be ready when you need it. She wants you to sort of work methodically from the feet up your body, but I think for the purpose of what we're doing tonight, kind of a roaming awareness might be more helpful while we're holding shapes. Because in some postures, certain things will become more forward, more present, and others will fade into the background. But she says, begin by focusing on your feet. Notice the sensations in each foot. You can check for temperature, the feeling of the foot on the floor or in your socks, muscle tension, joint sensations, whether the feet feel similar or different from each other, differences between your soles and the top of your feet. Just take your time and be curious. Finally, ask yourself, are these sensations pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Don't worry if you cannot feel a certain part of your body. Simply notice the lack of sensation. Certainly, it is not a bad thing to not be able to feel every part. In fact, some parts only come into our awareness when there's something wrong, like a toothache or stomach ache. Our focus here is on the tracking of our sensations and noticing the impact of this tracking on the rest of the body, mind, and spirit. If this impact feels beneficial, savor it. From time to time, notice how this process of attending to the body is affecting the body as a whole. It might also be helpful to take a couple of cleansing breaths here and there. And then very importantly, she actually adds a note of caution at the end. Don't allow your attention to be distracted by chronic aches and pains. Just note them respectfully and return to the exercise. This can be challenging, yet very beneficial. Once you know the discomfort is not an immediate threat, do your best to go back to the rest of the body. Hyper-focusing on aches and pains can actually skew our perception of the discomfort, dysregulating us more than rebalancing. Go ahead and walk your feet down the wall and roll over onto the side that feels most comfortable to roll over onto. You can go ahead and pause here for a second, kind of letting the circulation resume back to normal. And when you're feeling ready, you're invited to use the top arm to go ahead and push yourself up back into a seated position. And it's at this point that I'm going to hop over to the chairs to show how we can do tonight's postures while seated. So if you had time to go ahead and grab 2 sturdy chairs, you'll go ahead and set them up. Here, I'll show you. Kind of, that 18 to 24 inches apart from each other right here. And I went ahead and I dropped my bolster pillow in between. If you're seated on the floor without chairs, it's going to be kind of self-explanatory. You just won't be able to drop your leg below, the level of the floor. So that's fine. They'll be stacked. The legs will be stacked. And this is where you're going to have to bear with me on my camera angles because the phone's not going to be the same. Let's see. Can you see the chairs at all? I'm just feeling like it's pretty far away. No, that doesn't look good either. Okay. Okay, that might be decent, but I don't know that I can really see you. So, okay. This next posture is kind of a crisscross applesauce, but we'll go ahead and leave one leg down. So we're going to take the right leg, and again, if you're on the floor, you're just like the right leg is just kind of on top of the left. So if you're in the chair, we're going to take the right leg up, and we're going to move the right foot towards the left side of the chair. So it's kind of like the foot is the right foot on the left side of the chair. The right knee is kind of lined up with the right side of the chair. And then the leg below is the opposite. So the foot will come down in our crisscross sauce shape. So the right foot the left foot below the right knee. And the left knee is in line with the right foot. In this method, we're going to fold forward. And in this method, it's not kind of the traditional, like pancake style, let's see how far we can go. It's let gravity curve your spine. So you're going to probably end up sitting up a little bit more than you're used to if you've got a yoga practice. And you're going to let the arms rest on the chair across from you, or if you're on the floor, they're on either side of your thigh. And you're going to let the head go. Completely relax the head and neck. Let gravity curve your spine. Support yourself with the chair. And again, make any little tweaks that you need to make with your ankles and your feet. And then we're going to try to find something that's comfortable, and we're going to relax into it. Applying the same sort of scanning techniques that Joanne just laid out for us. So we're finding, is this neutral? Is this kind of a positive sensation? And it reminds me of, and I can't remember which chapter she wrote this in, but she was talking, it might be 4. She was talking about being a beginning meditator and having that problem that we all have with the itch that arises. And she goes, I remember feeling that like joyful relief when you go, you go and you scratch the itch and it's gone, and then you're okay, I can get back to my my meditation practice. But then with experience, she realized, well, if I just notice the itch and I don't try to change the itch, it's actually kind of transitory. And it has shapes and colors, and what is it? And if she stuck with it, then she'd notice that, it would kind of go away by itself, because usually something else would pop up that would take her awareness away. To come out of this posture, we're gently going to sit up. We're going to drop that right foot off the chair back onto the bolster. And we're going to go ahead and bring that left foot up onto the chair. Creeping that right foot down on the bolster underneath that left knee. And we're going to forward fold again, supporting ourselves with the chair across from us, or if we're on the floor, our hands are resting by our legs on the ground, perhaps. And we're letting gravity naturally curve our spine downward. And we're letting go of our neck. And the longer we're in our posture, the more we can let go. If anything close to anxiety starts to arise for us in a posture, we're always in choice and we can back off. Because while we're trying to pay mindful attention to some of these sensations, and honestly, we're trying to take the bite out of some of these sensations just by putting our loving gaze of awareness on them. Sometimes they're sensations that the body responds to with anxiety or something close to this. You're bouncing high out of your zone of tolerance. In these cases, we can back off. It's not going to help us regulate our system if we're getting triggered. It's all about finding that edge. To come out of this posture, slowly rise up again and drop your foot back down on the bolster. And we're going to take this bolster out from under our feet and we're going to put it on the chair. Starting with our right leg, we're going to put it on the chair in front of us and we're going to flex our toes to our nose. We're going to externally rotate our foot. So our right foot toes are going to point to the right wall, the right side of our ring. We're externally rotating and we're folding forward again. You can go ahead and rest on your leg if that's comfortable with your arm. You can go back to like a wide stance on your chair. But again, we're just letting gravity do its work. And we're maintaining the flex as we externally rotate that foot. Go ahead and slowly rise up from that. Drop your right foot to the floor. And we're going to do the same with the left side. So please place your left foot on the bolster across from you. Flex your toes towards your nose and then rotate your thigh outwards. Left toes pointing to the left side of the room. We're going to forward fold again. Notice if maybe there's muscles being activated that aren't actually part of the supportive group helping you maintain this posture. Maybe your right leg. Maybe your arm. Maybe your thigh. We're going to gently rise up again. Go ahead and put that leg down on the floor for just a jiffy. Kind of help the circulation come back, because now we're going to put both legs up on the bolster across from it. And we're going to apply a little bit of pressure between the legs. The legs are pressing together. The ankles are pressing together. Flex both of your feet toes to the nose. And again, we're going to rotate them both externally now. The right toes will go to the right and the left will go to the left. This is kind of some strong sensations here. We're going to go ahead and fold forward and hold this posture. And once you're comfortable, try to settle in and do as we were doing before. Scan your body, noticing what you notice with a non-judgmental curiosity. Joanne Rosen taught us about the zone of tolerance. And I think she calls it the window of mindful opportunity. And the diagram that really stuck out to me, and one that I think dovetails beautifully with what we're trying to do in this yoga practice tonight, was the concentric spaces of comfort and rest. And that's on page 52, which you might not remember, but maybe I'll send it out in an email. But she's got kind of 3 concentric circles, and the very core is our comfort zone. And that has a little halo around it. And the halo is called our stretch zone. And then this little comfort zone and halo are like floating in this like zigzag black abyss of the wrist. And that stretch zone there is what we're doing tonight with some of these bodily sensations that arise. We're not trying to go to a place of anxiety. We can go ahead and put that in the scary abyss, black abyss, ziggy-zaggy black abyss that she's got in this diagram. We're trying to stay right on that edge. And the function of that is to grow our comfort zone, which she's got a little line in here that we need to occasionally stretch and learn. Too much hanging out in the comfort zone is like never getting any exercise. If we are well rested and restored, yet remain in that comfort zone, we can get weaker rather than stronger. Living in a smaller and smaller bubble leads to a lack of resilience. Over time, options for comfort become fewer and fewer, like Goldilocks, always looking for what's just right, or the princess who can't fall asleep if there's even a tiny pea under her mattress. If our comfort zone is larger, then theoretically we can experience more things and still be comfortable. Go ahead and gently rise up. Bring your feet back together and release the grip in your leg. One at a time, place your feet mindfully back on the floor. And if you attended last time, you remember that at some point it's nice to take a brief 30-second little walk around the room. And that helps us to integrate our practice in with the whole body. We're going to take our practice on a walk and give the body a second to catch up. So it's not a slow walk that we're used to. It's not a fast walk. It's just a walking to the next room kind of walk. So if you just get up 30 seconds, and we will not meet at the chairs. We will meet back on the floor at our mat. And it's time for us to find a comfortable posture on our back and get ready for Shavasana. So this is corpse pose to the uninitiated. And you lay on your back like that of a corpse. Feet mat width distance apart. Your arms are not tucked in right next to you, you know, they're kind of comfortably splayed. The back of your hands are resting on the floor. Your chin has that nice neutral position. It's not tucked. It's not pointing to the ceiling. And we take a moment here to settle in, to arrive, to stop the wiggles. We get all the wiggles out. And starting at the top of our head, we're going to relax our scalp. And relax our forehead and our eyebrows. And that point right between our eyebrows. We're going to relax our ears, our cheeks, our nose, and our eyes into our eye sockets. We're going to relax our tongue on the palate. We're going to relax our jaws. We're going to relax our lips and our chin. And our throat. And the base of our skull and our neck. We're going to relax our traps where our neck meets our shoulders. And we're going to relax our right shoulder into our right shoulder socket and our right armpit. And our right upper arm. And we're going to relax our right elbow. And our right forearm. We're going to notice the floor supporting us there. And we're going to relax our right wrist and our right palm, our right thumb, and our right fingers. We're going to relax our left shoulder into our left shoulder socket. Our left upper arm. And relax our left elbow. And our left forearm. And we're going to notice it being supported by the floor. And we're going to relax our left wrist, our left palm, our left thumb, our left fingers. Our shoulder blades are melting into the floor. Our chest is expansive. We're relaxing our diaphragm. We're relaxing our upper back. We're noticing where it meets the floor. We're feeling the support. We're relaxing our stomach. And our pelvic girdle. We're relaxing our hips. And we're relaxing our glutes. We're relaxing our right thigh. We're relaxing our right knee. We're relaxing our right calf and our right shin. We're relaxing our right ankle. Our heel. The top of our foot. The sole of our foot. And all 5 toes. We're relaxing our left thigh. Our left knee. Our calf and our shin and our ankle. Relaxing the heel and the sole of our foot, the top of our foot, all 5 toes. We're relaxing our legs, our hips. Our back is supported by the floor. We're relaxing our shoulders and our arms, our neck and throat, the base of our skull, our mouth and tongue, eyes, and our scalp. The floor is supporting us. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring awareness to your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, you might even start to wiggle them. Maybe invite a big stretch, a full body stretch if that feels good, or any sort of movement that your body might be asking for. And when you're ready, choose a side to roll over onto. You can use the bottom arm to support your head like a pillow. We're in kind of a fetal position. Take your last few deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can use that upper arm, that hand to push into the floor to help you rise up into a comfortable seat. Thank you for sharing your practice with me tonight.
All right. Let everyone take a minute to get a little settled. And I want to really thank Jessica for that. What a wonderfully restorative yoga session. And thank you, Jessica, for being so flexible and rolling with the punches with your technology. I thought it was good job. Good job there. This happens and you were super flexible. Let everyone just get a sip of water. All right. Well, everyone, it is my turn to share. And I want you to know that for my share, I was going to discuss Joanne Rosen's book, Unshakable, Chapter 3, the rest of it. But life had other plans. So reality had other plans. So rather than resist what was in front of me, I decided to pivot tonight and discuss something else. Something that I hope has value and resonance for all of us. So it will very much be related to the skills and lessons we've all been learning in Unshakable and last week's talk with Vivian about the community resilience model. By the way, if you hear something strange in the background, it is my Sangha dog who has massive separation anxiety. So I'm really hoping he doesn't get too loud. So bear with me on that. We all have our challenges, whether it's technology or dogs, and I'm just going to roll with the punches here too. All right. Before I begin, I wanted to give you guys just a brief update on my previous share. I shared that I had a bad case of the hives, and they are gone. I may never know. Thank you for your support on just a mildly itchy, irritating thing. I don't know really why they're gone, but I did have food allergy testing, and it turns out that eating nonstop tomatoes, eggs, and peanut butters, pretty much the staples of my diet, was not a great idea. So anyway, my ancestry is quite northern, and I think my body views exotic foods like moon rocks. It just doesn't know what to do with it. So anyway, I'm hive free. Thank you for your support. Onward. So on to my share tonight. So what precipitated a change in topic this evening for me, as I mentioned before, was reality unfolding. And I'm going to tell you how this reality went. So on Saturday night, after a pretty stressful afternoon of viewing the absolutely sickening violence in the news, I decided to calm my nervous system and take my anxiety-ridden dog for a walk to look at the sunset. And it was a magnificent sunset, absolutely beautiful, over a little causeway with the water in front of me, very purple and orange, just absolutely beautiful. But as I was standing on the causeway not far from my house, snapping pictures of the sunset, I noticed that one of my neighbors had pulled up in a golf cart. And he was smoking a cigar, listening to music. And I said hello, and I commented that I really liked the country song that he was listening to. And he said to me, "This is the worst night in American history." And I said, this assassination attempt on President Trump is a terrible thing, truly terrible. I looked at my neighbor, who is well known in our community as a social friendly guy, a guy's guy. I'm friends with his wife. Our children are friends. Here's the thing, though. My instincts after some conversations with this man, despite his social persona, told me to be wary of him. I shared this with my husband and a few friends maybe about a month ago, and some people were surprised, but I have generally good instincts, and I've learned never to ignore them. Well, as the sun was setting, I read the look on his face, and something in my brainstem said, uh-oh. He said more loudly, "This is the worst night in American history." I said, "Violence is never the answer. This is terrible. I hear you." He repeated again at me, getting louder and louder, staring at me very intently. "This is the worst night in American history." Now, what I was actually thinking was, actually 9/11 was much worse for me, but I did not say that, thankfully. Then, dear Sangha, this man's tirade began. He began shouting at me at the top of his lungs. It was not a raised voice. It was full out shouting. And I'm going to share that this is a trigger for me. I mean, I don't really know anyone who enjoys being shouted at, but for me in particular, wow, I went really fast into what Joanne Rosen would call hypoarousal. So things got worse, and he started shouting more, and my dog started growling at him, my little savior. And then I simply froze. So the shouting continued. This man started using many, many expletives, most of them beginning with the letter F, about how the Democrats had ruined our country. His face was red and contorted with rage as he continued his rant against immigrants and marginalized people. I was literally watching a man flip his lid, literally going into his primitive brainstem and away from his cerebral cortex. And it seemed to all be unfolding in slow motion as I myself was frozen. And, a little voice, even though I felt completely frozen, I was, doing what Vivian said would be scanning. I was noticing, oh, my heart's racing, I can't move, and my muscles feel frozen. But a little voice inside my head said, "Do not escalate this. Do not." So also you should know that in my neighborhood, I have many, many, many good friends, but I'm also known as that weird Buddhist lady and an assumed Democrat. So, and a very suspicious non-drinker to boot. So I'm a little bit of an outsider in my neighborhood. So the tirade went on with me standing there and my dog growling. And at one point, the man, very likely very drunk, said something odd about me being like his Democrat mother. I mean, it went on. And this honestly was almost funny, except that I was becoming more and more uncomfortable. I was looking around and wondering if anyone else was hearing this. He was shouting more and more. But we were not near any houses. I was alone on the causeway with him. I didn't feel like the rant was deeply personal, and I really didn't feel like he was going to attack me or that I was in imminent danger for my life. But then he decided to bring up guns. of course, using the F words about every other word. He said this incident with the assassination of President Trump was not about gun control. It was going to be spun by the blankety blank, 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 blank Democrats like me who were ruining America. So I do need to point out here that this man is a former executive at a firearms manufacturer. I mean, you simply cannot make this up. I mean, in retrospect, when I look back on this, like this was straight out of Central Casting. I mean, literally a Buddhist woman who was literally standing in front of him in Birkenstocks is getting absolutely barraged by a man smoking a cigar who's a former firearms executive. I mean, it was straight out of a sitcom if it hadn't been so utterly baffling and uncomfortable. So anyway, straight out of Central Casting. And I thought, later on, I thought, wow, the universe really does have a sense of humor. But in the moment, it really wasn't funny. This man in our neighborhood is especially outspoken about his pro-gun stance. And it did occur to me that he might have a gun on him. Many of my neighbors do. Many of the people in my neighborhood carry, including a woman I meet regularly for doggy play dates. It's just part of my life here. Someone is literally packing heat at the dog park, and I just have to assume that my neighbors are good people. So he continued shouting on, and I continued saying really soothing things like, I hear you, I see your point, I understand how upset you are. All the while slowly backing away and trying to calm my dog down. So I don't know how long this went on. All I know is that at some point I said to him, I think you need to just take care of your heart. And he didn't really know how to respond to this. And he just sort of looked ahead and sped away in his golf cart without saying anything else. And I'll tell you, I stood there with my dog feeling immensely relieved and just baffled. And I stood there and I started body scanning and realized, wow, I am really dysregulated. The
Lou,
heart.
could we just take a moment and invite the sound of the bell
Sure.
and invite everyone to just check in with their own body
Sure.
on how we're doing with this story?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. So I walked home absolutely safe, and I was deeply grateful that I had meditated before going out that evening. I had been grounded and skilled enough not to have escalated that situation. I cannot tell you how grateful I was for our practice and for the work we had been doing. An earlier version of me would not have been so skilled, nor so calm. On the way home, I resourced myself. I called my husband, who was traveling. And at one point, I stood and I looked around, looking at the trees and the sky and my feet on the ground. And I said to him, you know, I really am safe. I was grounding, just like Vivian had taught me to do. And at home, I got home and I took some deep breaths and I resourced myself further. So I took a long hot shower. You know, last week in a breakout room, I was telling John that one of the ways I resource myself is with water. So I did it. Had a long hot shower and I ate something. I petted the dog, calmed him down, and I had a cup of tea. Much later, I shared with my teenage son that he was not to go near this man, even though he is friends with this man's daughter, because it was a safety issue. My son was not surprised. So that night, I wish I could say I had a better night's sleep. I did not. I did not. You know, I'm not going to lie. I spent some time at 3 a.m. thinking about how I could get a Canadian visa. For sure, that crossed my mind. And I was very upset when I considered that what would have happened if that had not been me walking my dog, but my gay teenage son wearing a Pride t-shirt and his earrings and his long hair. So that was really hard for me. That was a big fear moment. And I kept breathing and resourcing myself and trying to get back into the window of tolerance, of mindful opportunity, and eventually I did. It was really hard not to get tangled up in fear for the safety of my family and the fate of our country. And I want to share that I really thought hard about something that Janaki had shared, really heartbreakingly, about never feeling safe. You know, she shared that now white people are feeling this way. And, you know, as a woman, I'm going to share that I don't know if I've ever felt completely safe, but I have to acknowledge that I've had the extreme privilege of being white, educated, heteronormative person. But on that causeway, I really felt afraid. And I thought, wow, this is what marginalized people feel all the time. And it was a real sobering moment. And I want to thank Janaki for sharing so openly about that. And Deborah and Janaki for sharing about being triggered and what that feels like, because that's what I felt. You know, I woke up the next morning and I'm going to tell you that I was so relieved to hear that the shooter was a white man, because I worried that the shooter belonged to a minority group, that there might be retaliation against marginalized people. And, you know, this is a reality. So where this is all going is, what can I do? You know, I am upping my practice and taking it more seriously. Like I said, I was really grateful that I had meditated. I am reaching out and I'm talking to people. I called Heather, and Heather was an enormous resource and good listener. Just made enormous space for this experience. And I'm meditating every day. And I've made a really big commitment to that. I'm making sure I don't miss meals. Again, I'm going right back to, you know, everything Vivian talked about last week, scanning, resources, all of it. I feel like the timing of what we're doing right now, this work, is just so important, and I'm truly grateful for it. I'm reviewing my mindfulness trainings every day so that I stay in my frontal lobe and I have the tools to be really grounded. through our practice and as Buddhists and through Joanne Rosen's book and CRM, I feel like we are being given the tools to navigate this. And I don't think it's going to be easy. I'm am wondering how to move forward and not get tangled up in fear and not revert to my own black and white thinking. The guy on the causeway is not the only one with it. I did some pretty big othering the next day about that man and his political views, and I'm cognizant of that. And I want to just really admit that I had some pretty harsh judgmental thoughts about those people. But staying in my practice, reading just enough news and not too much, is something that I'm committed to. I want to stay informed, but I don't want to go too deep. That's difficult for me because I tell myself that, oh, I'm just being informed. And then, I close CNN or the New York Times and I feel like my nervous system's on fire. So all of these things, I just wanted to share are really, really critical for me to navigate this. And I'm super grateful. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity to share this story with you all tonight. And my apologies if any moment it was traumatizing for any of you. And I'm going to turn this over to the beloved community so we can have a group harvest together, and just share what came up for you this week, and maybe just how we're all grounding and resourcing ourselves and using the tools, and we don't even have all of them yet, to get through stuff like this and what came up this past week. So anyway, that's my story. And that's why I pivoted tonight and decided to share it with you all. And I'm really grateful for your listening.